Welcome there, fellow struggling hunters, to another podcast with the Struggling Hunters. You got me, Joe, and you got,
Me, Eric.
and like I said, back at it again, doing a podcast here. Um, I've, out of the two of us, I've been the one, I guess, hunting, mostly because I'm the only one with the tag that's open right now. But before we get any further, I want to say thanks to all those that have been watching, been listening. Uh, appreciate it. Hopefully we're giving you guys something that's worth listening. If not, let us know. We're open to a little bit of mean things, not a lot, but if you can be somewhat nice about it, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Let me go off on that real quick because like our so like we could see whenever we're getting more and more views, and we've definitely been growing and stuff. One thing that just I could ask to help for you guys to help us out is if we're earning your watch time and listen to time, like try to interact with us in some way. Like right now, if you're on YouTube, try to hit that like button for us. It helps our analytics out and helps us kind of grow a little bit bigger. We'd really appreciate that. And if you're on the podcast portion, maybe share it on Facebook or or just hit the follow button on the podcast portion. It really helps us out. And I mean, that's about all I got to say about that, but I do appreciate everybody's support so far, but we are trying to grow this thing. I mean, it's no secret, we're not doing this just for fun. I mean, we do kind of want to see it grow and get to somewhere. I mean, we don't know where that is, but so yeah, we just really appreciate some support. So I know that sometimes whenever you're watching the video or you're watching stuff, you kind of forget to hit the like button or whatever. But right now I'm trying to remind you at the beginning of this to just do that one little thing for us, and it'd be very appreciative. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And without further ado, we'll get into I guess my hunting stories for this past week. So I gotta take a big swallow of humble pie or whatever, and I'll start off by saying, make sure that you know your dates when you're hunting. Make sure you know you're supposed to be where you're at, or even that you're allowed to be hunting where you're at. So it's no secret that I've been hunting on the spike cow archery in a limited entry area, which is, being that it's an archery tag, I can hunt the spike or the cow. And the last time I was out, I was in this particular area. I saw a couple bulls, saw a cow. I got all excited. We talked about it last time was Eric. Eric was telling me, I'd go after the branch antlered area just for that opportunity. I was like, yeah, me too. I want a branch antler bull or whatever came across I'd be happy with. I want to fill my tag. And that's what was driving me this last week was I was wanting to fill my tag. And so I get done with the podcast. I get thinking about it. And, the whole don't leave elk to find elk, thing kept going through my head all week. And then, all the way up until, so I was out, left Friday after work. So Thursday, I was committed to go out after a branch antler area or general any bull area. And I was set on it. I was going to do it. Then like Friday or Thursday night, Friday morning, got talking. And I was like, I don't want to leave elk to find elk. So I take off, go to my area. Friday night, I had, I believe it was 3 different bulls bugling. It was kind of fun. So I wasn't bugling myself. I just dove off this ridge, got my cow call, when sitting there just doing little chirps or meows, whatever you want to call it. And I could hear it was fun. Like there was a couple different uh, distinctly different bulls bugling. Like one of them sounded like a like it would flare up, and then like all the air would just get let out of it. And then I heard another one. I think they call it glunking, or I don't remember, but it was just like this little like the end of a bugle. I had like it was just sit there and do that without the first part of the bugle. And then this other one, I could hear it like go farther away, then it would come in close, and then it would drift off farther away. And then there's this other distinct one that was kind of going off too. And I almost left that night to go chase any bull, because I was like, well, if I'm having this success here, I can have this success in any bull. But I was like, no, I'm into elk. I'm going to stay here. And so Friday or Saturday, I get up and I hike my butt clear down the bottom of this ravine, get into some elk sign, go past it. I should have probably stayed on that same elevation and went around the side hill and went up the other side, but it was getting late in the day, and I was like, I don't want to come out of this deep hole in the dark. So I started heading back up top. That was Saturday. Sunday, I kind of took it as a little bit of a day to relax. Didn't get up too early. Went out, did some glassing Sunday morning. And Sunday night, I went back out, dropped down into this ravine. And I took my bugle with me, and I set up in two different spots. I started bugling, and I could hear these bugles going way off in the distance. And I sound like they're getting somewhat closer, but they never would come in. And I was trying to shoot a spike, so I was hoping that I could create some type of motion or excitement that I'd call in a spike, to come in, seeing what was going on. Anyways, nothing came of it. And as hike back in the night came, I hiked out of there, and it was kind of fun because as I was hiking out, I could hear like elk bugle, like from the canyon I was just in. So I was like, man, I didn't scare anything out of there, I don't think. And then for whatever reason, I was like, oh, I want to move spots Monday. And so like I got up Monday, kind of hopped in the truck, went down the road a little bit. I was like, I'm going to leave elk to find elk again. So I went back down, hunted down where I was the first day. And that's the other interesting thing. So Utah has had some big fires flare up. And so like I dropped down off the ridge on Monday. Yeah. And I'm heading down, not getting too far down in there, and I'm sitting there, I'm calling, nothing, I'm not hearing anything. And then I can see like this dark flume of smoke behind me coming up from the ridge. And I was like, man, is there like a fire? Like, is there a fire on my ridge? It would just get dark. And like ash was like dropping out of the sky. And so I got a little worried, like, I got to get up out of here to see, like, if I can get on the internet and find out how close this fire is to me. Because I was like, I don't want to get, stuck in here.
Like caught up in it.
Yeah. I was like, for my safety, I got to figure this out. And so I popped back up on top and got into internet service, found out where the fire was. And it was a ways away from me. I don't know how many miles, but it was a good distance that it had to cross the whole mountain range before it'd get to me. But yet there was still like ash dropping, like it wasn't just like one or two, but it was just continuous. It was almost like a snowstorm almost. And so I was like, I'll just set up here on this this little plateau. I had this ridge off this other side, a little bowl that I've never set and watched. And I was like, I'll just set here. So I pulled out my bugle tube and I started bugling, and that wind it's not very much fun to try to bugle and stuff in the wind, because like the wind would pick up and I couldn't hear anything. It'd kind of die off a little bit. And I don't know if like I was hearing uh like whistling of trees and it sounded like elk, I was like, oh, there's an elk going off, but I think it was just the wind blowing. And finally, I hit a certain point and I was like, all right, well, I don't see anything. I'm gonna bust on out of here, go back up. And I was like sounds bad, or how sounds odd, but I was like gonna go up, and I was gonna go back up, and I was gonna wash some socks so I can try to do a 2 sock system
Okay.
in my boots. I
Yeah.
was like, I'm gonna go back up, wash some socks, so that way tomorrow I can put 2 socks in my boots, and I'm gonna go dive off this other ridge tomorrow, and hopefully my feet will do better. Like my feet been hurting from hiking the hills and stuff, so I was trying to give my feet, a little bit better,
A little more cushion.
better environment for their living habitat.
Yeah.
And so as I'm hiking up, I was like, well, I'll just go along this ridge on this side that I haven't been on and walk around this bowl and just kind of make my way up. And I start walking around and I see this guy like bugling, and I was like, oh, well, he's hunting over there. I'll just bump up to the ridge and just go up, and I'll just call it early today. So that way, like I've been getting to bed at like 11 o'clock every night. Like by the time I get back, get my pack set up for the next day, make dinner, like it was 11 o'clock. And so I was like, I'm tired of going to bed at 11. I want to get up early. I want to hit it hard tomorrow, which would have been Tuesday, which would have been today. And so I'm hiking back up, and I get midway up, and I look over to my right, and there's this dude kneeling, and he's looking down the ridge off in this other ravine that I was planning on hunting the next day. And I was like, oh, I'll go up and talk to him. I was like, not that I had to, but I was like, oh, I'll go do it. Just say hi. And like, oh, so what you hunting? Like, oh, I'm hunting spike or cow, archery. He's all, no, you're not. Like, yeah, I am. He's like, no, that hunt ended Friday. He's like, you now have to have a limited entry bull tag to be hunting in here. Like, no, you're, and it's like, yeah. And I was like, oh shoot. And I'm like, no. So I pull out my phone and start pulling up the regs, and like it all clicks in my head. I was like, no, he's right. I was like, I was supposed to be up in my general any bowl because this weekend the spike and the cow closed. But I got so focused on don't leave elk to find elk that I spaced out that the spike and the cow ended. It would have been the 4th. And so this was Monday. So I hunted Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, I guess illegally. Lucky. So I think and again, I'll reiterate, like I did at the beginning of my story, make sure you know that you're hunting where you're supposed to be. You got those regs down and you're checked. I thought, I thought I was checked, but like I said, I got so focused on leaving elk to find elk that I still wasn't finding elk. I was hearing elk, but I think I'm just going to say the hunting gods were with me, keeping me from getting in trouble.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, it's like no harm, no foul, even though you were in the wrong area.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, nothing really came of it except maybe a little sting to your ego.
And a loss of time for hunting.
And a loss of time for hunting. Yeah. Yeah, that's a big one. That's a big one for sure. But I mean, at least you found out early, and it's one of those things that like I'm pretty sure you'll never make that same mistake again. So
no, it's definitely like a lesson learned. Like I don't know, it's like one of those like coming of age or like wisdom. There's always that old man that's like always giving you some like nugget of wisdom or something that you're always like, yeah, shut up, old guy. Or I don't need to listen to you. I know what I'm doing. I feel like that's going to be like me someday, like telling some young punk, check your dates.
Read your eggs.
Right.
Always read your regs.
Yeah. But
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it, it probably happens more often than not. So
I mean, I did have a good time. Like so I'd go to bed listening to elk bugle every night, so I was into them. I just wasn't, luckily I just wasn't into them like I should be.
yeah, yeah. I mean, well, at least, I mean, that counts towards some kind of success. At least you're getting into them.
Right.
I mean, it's a bummer, but yeah, it's, it is what it is. And
I mean, it's like one of those things, like I don't even want to tell the story because like, like, it's like, didn't you read your eggs? I did, but I got so in the zone, or had my blinders on that like I didn't, you can, I guess you can see how tightly my blinders got on, to the whole fact of don't leave elk to find elk. Like, I didn't look outside of that fact. That's what I was
you did,
judging everything.
you did the exact opposite of what we talked about.
I did. I did. Had I did what we talked about, I, would have been chasing at least legally.
Well, the funny thing is you kind of forgot, or you forgot about the dates and that whole mishap, but like subconsciously, I mean, I think that's why we were talking about it, is, or part of the reason you were so adamant about moving to that other location or that other area unit, that you I think that's probably what sparked that whole idea of even moving to that other unit around that time. But
Yeah. So
you
if I
just
go
kind of
back to the
forgot.
beginning, correct. Yeah, that's correct. If I go back to how I was planning my hunts, that's why I was going to that area, was because the cow and the spike hunt ended, but it didn't, the general any bowl was still going on, so I could bump over and do that. And that's why I was doing that the whole time. That's why I was doing that. But I got those blinders put on and they got put on pretty thick.
Yeah, and so Joe told me this earlier, right? And we like almost made the decision. So before you guys start hating too much, got to kind of tell the backstory a little bit, because we were talking about it, and I was like, oh man, maybe we should skip this story, and then we kind of talked about it a little more, and we said, you know what, there's a little bit of value behind this, as far as teaching people, like learning through our mistakes so they don't make the same mistake. And so that's why we decided to tell the story, because it's that, man, that really stings the ego. And so Joe, I appreciate you for doing that, and just saying, we got to talk about it. I mean, that's part of our podcast, is being transparent and going through the whole steps of the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yep.
And so that's why that's how we're here right now during this. But yeah, man, I mean, I think it could happen to anybody, and I don't think it's that big of a deal. It's just one of those. I mean, no harm, no foul happens, so it's not that big of a deal. Just one of those things.
I mean, if I did happen to foul pretty bad, like I would have, done the necessary steps to make it right. Like I don't want any more trouble to have come from it if I did happen to take an animal. I don't know what the repercussions would have been, but like I don't want to hurt my chances of hunting again. So, like it's all about doing the right principle, the do right principle.
But if you would have been successful, let's say on Saturday, you got it home, did your whole thing, like that, like when do you think it would have ever dawned on you? Like
I don't know.
Yeah.
It, it might have years down the road or something, maybe, or like this fall, or I mean, like December. I don't know. Like, yeah, it is a good question. I don't know when it would have dawned on me,
Yeah.
you know. That is an interesting point of view. Like, who knows when I would have been like, oh yeah.
But that's the thing. I mean, that's the thing, you know, I mean, honest mistake. And
It was
I don't think it's that big of a deal. It's just kind of one of those things where you just kind of, you're doing the walk of shame out of the woods and kind of feel.
I did. I don't know. I think I about cried when I called and talked to my wife. I think my bottom lip was kind of quivering a little bit. It still kind of does when I bring it up, talk about it.
Hey man, that's still pretty big of you to go ahead and share it anyway. I mean, we
But I guess the other thing too, though, like, kind of want to go into, I'll open up a little bit, is being out there like by myself, no one to really talk to, is trying to motivate myself all the time, like, dropping down off the edges, nothing ever happening, try to figure out what to do next. This is all me trying to form habits, successful habits, trying to understand what I'm seeing in front of me and interpreting what I need to do. And I still don't fully know. I don't know if anyone really does know, but I don't know. Anyway, I'll continue. But the other hard thing too is, not hard, but like the whole range of emotions you go through while you're out there. Like, at one point I was, kind of extremely hard on myself because I haven't got anything. And then, I dwell on that for a little bit to where it's almost, upsetting, wanting to just go home because I haven't been successful, to, thinking, oh, I still have time to hunt. Like, let's go out there and get this done. Like, the whole range of emotions, I guess, from all aspects of it was felt this weekend, from totally screwing up and being in the wrong area to not being successful to enjoying being in the woods, like enjoying Mother Nature and enjoying hearing the elk bugle.
Yeah, I mean, I understand those emotions. I think any hunter kind of does. I mean, that I know it happens to me every season, especially, whenever I'm not getting nothing or seeing anything, and those negative emotions kick in. And I'm a pretty positive guy outside of, I mean, I don't really, I just don't really let negativity reign in on my little world, and try to stay pretty positive most of the time. But whenever you're hunting those animals and you have a deadline, and or like in your case, been hunting for going on pretty much a month now, or getting close to a month, and not really having success, those emotions, I mean, those negative emotions just start kicking in, and it's hard to kick yourself out of it, and keep pushing through. And so
True.
I understand what you're saying, though.
So, and then the other thing too, like being out there, you're getting, especially by yourself, and having time to reflect and trying to like learn from your experiences and trying to become a better hunter. Like, one of the things that I contemplated was, you kind of bear with me, but it's kind of a rough little, I don't know, we want to say a segment, sentence,
A
anyways,
quote.
but quote, but is, so try and become a better hunter, like, and understanding that. But so, is success a complement for habits, or forming habits, I guess I should say? So, and I guess I say that because my success rate hasn't been all that great. And so, how much, I think we've talked about it in the past, but you kind of, like I see myself going down the same road and nothing ever gets better. So, and I don't know where to make those changes to get out of that rut that I'm in, or how to, whether it's, I need to probably get better for elk hunting, as far as, working on my cow calls and my bugling and that. Like, I'm not very good at that yet, but next year I will be better. And that will probably play into my success for next year. And that's a rut or that's something that I could put in my bag of tricks to help with my success, is becoming better at that. And then, trying to figure out understanding elk habitat maybe a little bit better, which is, I know we've talked about food and stuff in the past, but I feel like, you can't always base where the elk are off of that. Like, you could have probably the most luscious grass that the elk is going to want, and there's going to be some reason why it may not be there. Whether it's pressure or distance from water, terrain it's in, I don't know. Or maybe there's just no elk in the area, and they just haven't found that spot yet. So I've rambled on kind of probably a little bit longer than I need to have to try to explain my thought there. So I guess I'll try to round it up this way. So when you're successful, are you forming habits to become successful again? Like, is that, are you setting yourself up for success in the future, or are you just lucky?
Yeah, I think sometimes a little bit of both, right? I mean, especially like elk being pretty nomadic, doing what they want to do, where they want to go. But with that said, though, if you're successful one year, I mean, you're gonna totally change the game plan. I mean, I think it's hard to change the game plan. Like something that we've talked about in the past, something, the way we learned how to hunt as kids from our fathers or mentors was, most of the time it was, you hunt a couple hours in the morning, you take the afternoon off, and then you hunt for a few hours in the evening. And we've talked about it ourselves where it's like, nah, we're going to be out there all day. Who knows where we're going to end up by the end of the day, but it doesn't matter, because the point is that we're going to hunt all day long to become more successful. So we're changing those habits, right?
Correct.
And so change, like, we're trying to find that success this year, more so than probably ever before. We're trying to find our success. And so my point is let's say this year, in the next couple weekends or something, you end up getting an elk, and it's at 11 o'clock in the afternoon, and you got the elk from being down in a meadow, or whatever you were doing at 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock or whatever. You're going to probably do the same thing next year. And now, will it work? I mean, who knows? But if that's what worked this year, then why wouldn't you do it next year? I think that's, I know that's what I would do. I think that habits create both. I mean, I know one of my biggest downfalls is me thinking I know what elk would like as far as habitat, and me finding a spot and going, oh, if I was an elk, I would be right here. And then nothing ever shows up. That's one of my habits to failure, because I'm thinking that I know what elk want, but I don't. I mean, it's just one of those things whenever you're out there pursuing them. I mean, you just kind of get in that mindset of like, oh, if I was an elk, I'd be right here. And,
Right.
but I think like, so that's what brings success too, is to rest off is, if you go to a certain area and you're hunting, let's say a couple square miles or 4 or 5 square miles or whatever, and you get successful in that area, you're going to go back to that same area the next year, whether you're successful that next year or not. I mean, I just think that's kind of the way the cookie crumbles. And I don't know. I mean, if it was easy, I think everybody would do it. I feel like the hardest thing is whenever you get on Facebook and those damn hunting pages are showing all these guys that were brought home their big elk or big deer or whatever for the weekend, and you're like, man, I was hiking up and down these ridges and doing everything that I thought was right, and they're not popping up. What's wrong with me and the way I hunt? When truth be told, they just they either knew that, you know, they go to a prime spot every year. I mean, it's hard to say what their situation is. They don't go through their whole backstory. And I mean, I think for me and you, like, I would say probably one of our downfalls is we're always trying to find areas of where they're even at. But, you know, like, so, you know, you've changed mountain ranges a couple times. You're going to change mountain ranges again before the end of the week. And I mean, that could be a very good thing at times, but then it could also be a bad thing at times. And I do the same thing. I mean, I look at all these areas whenever I'm scouting on X or a little bit in person or whatever that may be. And I'm like, oh, this looks like a good spot. But I mean, I don't know if there's anything in there. I'm just guessing. And I mean, I feel like a lot of people do that, and sometimes they get really successful and sometimes they don't. And I mean, that's just the way it is.
Right.
So
No, I think you have some truth there. I think some people are pretty good at just being lucky, like understanding probably where elk we're going to be. And, you know, I'll say that this year, since doing this, like even a little bit last year, but I'm really trying to stretch myself. I'm really trying to like step out, not of my comfort zone, but just look at it a different way than how I have in the past. I've been more or less the type of guy, throw the pack on and just go out there, you'll run into them, which is probably just 75% of the hunting story. But then the other 25% is understanding the habitat, I'm sure too, and that's
yeah,
something that I've never really quite understood. I've tried to understand, but I haven't quite fully been able to internalize how to interpret the habitat.
to go off of what you said about luck, though, don't you think that's what it is a little bit? Like, did you see two other guys up there basically at the same time? You saw the one guy way off bugling, and then the other guy that you talked to. Is that what you said earlier?
Yeah.
So when you saw those two guys, were they doing anything different than you?
Um, no, just out looking, just out in the woods.
Yeah, that's kind of my point. Is, I mean, they weren't doing anything different than you. Just, and who knows if they're going to be successful? But
Well, the one guy that told me I was in the wrong spot, he was actually looking at a couple cows way down the bottom of the hill. So,
but I mean, as far as like location, terrain, I mean, even as far as what they're wearing, I mean, what they smelled like, their hair color. I mean, it doesn't matter, right? I mean, they were
right.
pretty much the same. They had the same opportunity as you. They were in the same, pretty much the same terrain, the same mountain range. I mean, they were all the same as you, and it's hard to say if they'll get lucky, but what I am saying is if they do get lucky, I mean, they were doing the same exact thing as you were. It's just maybe they had a little more luck, or maybe they don't. I mean, it's just, I don't think. I guess I'm trying to like stick up for you in some weird way or something, or like trying to not let you get too down on yourself, because I know that you put in the work this year. I know that you've been working hard at this, and trying to be successful, and thankfully you weren't successful this weekend, but but at the same time, I mean, it's it's important for everybody to know that, you know, you just got to put in the hard work, and a little bit of luck is, I think has to go in with your success. And so at this point, I think that you're doing everything right. You just need a little luck on your side.
Yeah, don't we all?
Yeah.
Don't we all? But but yeah, no, like that was, I guess, kind of the takeaway from all this is, you know, uh, remember to read your regs. Uh, Luck is a big part of it. Don't get too hard on yourself, and you know, don't be scared to work hard either. And sometimes you don't have to work so hard, but it always feels like you have to work hard. But yeah, I don't know. I was just thinking. I don't know if trying to go over the topics we discussed and trying to think if there's any more that we need to go over for tonight.
I don't really have much. Well, I take that back. Um, Something that you said about working hard. I mean, we both said it, I guess, but I think there is. I think one thing to maybe learn is like, working smarter instead of harder.
Oh, yeah,
Trying to
no, for sure.
and maybe that'll come with a little more experience, or a confidence thing too. Is like, this other mountain range that you're gonna hit up here soon. If you get successful out there, I mean, you're gonna kind of know where to go and what to do, and you're gonna be smarter about your approach. Your confidence is gonna be up a little higher. I mean, I think it'll work out. I think whenever you start, I'm just kind of going off of what I tend to do sometimes. Whenever you start kind of not seeing what you're hoping to see, you start putting in all these foot miles and moving locations a lot. I mean, I feel like that's definitely what I do. Is I don't feel like there's nothing up here, which kind of contradicts another podcast a while back. I can't remember which podcast it was, but we were talking about like kind of just cutting out if you're not seeing your sign that you need to
Right,
see. But at the same time, there's kind of a fine line there where I feel like maybe in some cases it's a good idea to cut out early, but then in some cases it might not be. So it's kind of more about your sign. So if you're seeing sign that looks even a couple days old, it might be a good idea to stick around in that area a little bit longer. I mean,
right,
like some that we've said a ton of times on this channel is I mean, about the only time that you can estimate when an elk left its dropping is whenever it's fallen out of its butt. And
right.
so I think that's how it goes. Is that close enough?
Yeah, that's close enough.
So, but I mean, you could kind of tell if it's been like a day or two or whatnot. So I feel like if you're seeing good sign and you really have a good feeling about your guts telling you that there's something in there, like stick around in that area. But if you're not seeing the sign, it's probably time to cut out and look for a new spot. And I don't know, just kind of a thought of what I had when you're talking. But that's really all I got for tonight.
Yeah, I think that's about what I got too. I don't know have anything else, so I guess with that we'll wrap it up. So thanks for giving us a listen tonight, you struggling hunters. Hopefully you don't struggle too much, and hopefully you're not struggling more on the success side. But I don't know. Hopefully you're having fun, and the hunting gods have been blessed or have blessed you with success. I'm Joe. Have a good one.
I'm Eric. Give a thumbs up for the public hunts on the video. I mean,
Yeah.
and thanks for listening to the Struggling Hunters, and we will talk to you in the next one. See you guys.
See ya.
Laters.
Bye.